Hey everybody. Yeah, I'm here. Randy. Randy should be headed back any minute now. I got the gray screen of death because my camera, for some reason, decided it does not want to show my lovely visage. Uh, so that could be a problem in the future here. Anyway, M3 SOZ says that late. I want my money back. Yeah, we are very late this morning. I had some computer problems. One of which is that my computer monitor would just not turn on, would not activate, which is going to make other things really hard. Hey, Randy,
Right. Your voice is muted. Your screen is blank.
is my voice muted? I'm getting
Oh, you're better now. Yeah.
yeah. I've been talking for like the last minute or so, so I hope people heard me.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, my screen is blank.
Yeah.
Uh,
Your video your audio keeps going in and out.
I do need to fix one thing on my audio right now, though. 1 second. Mhm. Believe that my audio is coming through my speakers right now.
M3SOZ gets a full refund.
Oh yeah, full refund. M3 SOZ. M3 SOZ. We'll have to send that out in an envelope. One of those indie vote no prizes. Yeah, the gray screen of death.
The ultimate gray screen of death.
Yeah,
Death.
yeah. You know,
Death.
$200 webcam, and it
It's that
decided.
brand. It's that
Yeah,
brand new monitor you bought.
yeah. It's the monitor and the camera competing now. Yeah, Randy. So obviously,
You
I'm having all types of computer problems.
you broke your camera.
Yeah, I can that.
That's what it is.
uh,
We enjoyed.
this is a,
We told you. We always told you you had the face made for radio, buddy.
oh yeah. So Rob says, Varian used the Millennial Falcon to transmit.
Yeah. Yep.
That is fairly accurate. I'm battling intergalactic civil war right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Rizzy Lee says that audio sounds off a bit, but I hear you. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for being on.
Struggling with us through our technical difficulties. So Randy, I didn't get any graphics done, but
I
uh,
I I got this.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
that's
We got that.
that's. Let me see here. I got.
Trico's in the house. Good morning, guys.
Don't worry, guys. We will eventually get around talking about comic books. I promise. Um,
Mr. Dunn is in the house.
yeah,
I'm in this thing. What's
yeah.
happening, fellas?
So let me introduce myself. Hello, everybody. My name is Varian Grant. I am the co-owner of Glass Call Comics.
Today
Uh,
you are very in gray.
yeah. 50 shades of one shade of gray right there.
No. You don't
Yeah,
want to. No. You don't want to be that.
yeah.
Heck no.
And founder of Indie Vote Media LLC. I got my start making comic books back in 2008. First book I ever published was a black and white interior action comedy called Psycho Sirens. I am a father, a husband, a geek, a creator, publisher, a reluctant taxpayer, and artist, shamefully not in that order. And you're watching Indie Vote Live, The Breakfast Buzz. And today I am joined by,
Um, Randy Zimmerman. Our titles aren't even up. How we like that?
yeah, yeah,
Is that
I
a
could do that.
button I need to click?
No, I could do that.
Randy Zimmerman, independent alternative comics publisher, editor in chief. Done just about everything in the business for way longer than I care to admit. So, outside of run this StreamYard, which apparently I can't do effectively. So it's all good.
Yeah. What's up with that,
I
Randy?
had to pull out of the previous stream because I got a notice from Facebook saying that they didn't like the music I was playing. Who knew they were listening? It has to be their algorithms. Just caught some computer caught it. That's what I get for playing a stupid song.
um, yeah. Let's see here. Dunn says, if y'all over here 50 shades of ish, you can keep this gray. Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see that.
No one wants to see that.
What you do in the privacy of your own house is your business.
So Randy, we're gonna cover a couple things.
Okay.
But one of the things that
Maybe I should do that. I'd be a lot better off watching old Jollibee than looking at my freaking face.
Well, your reactions tell a lot. The people can see movement at least on the.
Can they?
Yeah.
My my
um.
horrible look of disdain or anger?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah. So
what the fuck is that all about? Oops, sorry. It's early in the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So.
M3 says that's a good look for you, though.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's a great. It's a great cloudy day here.
I stand between the darkness and the light. Anyway, I am gray.
So, M3SLZ says, "What kind of book is next for you, Randy?" And then
Indie
we're gonna
Hall
talk
of
about.
Indie Hall of Farmer. There we go.
Yeah.
We're in that area. Rob, welcome aboard. Thanks for listening. What kind of book? What kind of book's next for you, M3SOZ? I went over to your YouTube site. So,
Yeah.
saw you doing some zombie stuff. Looking good, buddy.
Yeah. I seen that too. That's some real
I
tight
know.
work.
I know you probably want your anonymity, but I'm just saying, if you are who I think you are, I got a bunch of artwork that's yours from like 20 years ago. If you want it,
I'll take it.
that's old stuff. You want it. I know you want it. I didn't do anything with it. It wasn't mine to do anything with. I've just had it here in storage, so it's still good. Survived, a wet basement and everything.
You know the good thing about not having my camera up? You, I
Oh,
can,
you can
I can
you
stuff
can-
my face. I can eat.
you can broadcast naked.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see that.
It's all this clothes though coming off. It'd be funny if I'm like, and then the camera starts working. The minute my clothes are off, I'm
M3 SOZ, you should definitely be proud of that stuff. That's good stuff, buddy. And I know as an artist that the farther along you get in your career, and the more you do, the more you look back on your older stuff and you cringe, and you might think that stuff's really cringe worthy, but believe me when I tell you, buddy, it's not. It's quality stuff, and you deserve to take it. And at the very least, if you're not happy with it, sell the hell out of it.
yeah.
Start setting up at shows and just move some of that stuff, buddy. You can talk to Jason Moore or Ralph, or some people might actually want to buy that work, bud. But quite frankly, I love that style. I absolutely did. I was very proud to print those books. So I hope there's no bad blood between us, and I hope that hasn't kept you from, your anonymity. So
Randy hasn't printed me. Yeah, he has. He printed. I guess
printed
he has
you.
printed me. Yeah.
On Flint Comics, wonderful
Yeah.
Flint Comics.
Um,
Which I guess I have to admit, actually got to the reader in better shape than Stealing Solo. Even though it was jammed in red boxes and most of the time was folded in half, and I saw it all wadded up in bathrooms and all around the county, hanging over the handicap rail, and I said, yes, that's what I like.
If anybody doesn't recall the Stealing Solo situation, it's what happened when Jeff Hicks from World Class BSers recently released his book, and it went out with the back cover blank and the address of the backer printed on the comic, on the back of the comic, and no protection, no sleeves, no cardboard, just a comic in the mail. No, not even taped, and it was bad. And people have been getting their book damaged, bent up, crammed in there. It's a $20 comic, right?
Yeah.
And crammed in the mailbox, bent up. And I know most of us would be furious if our $2 comics were handled that way. So the fact that that book being in that shape wouldn't have happened if it was newsprint. Wouldn't have been as bad when you think about it.
Oh yeah, it would.
You think? Think it would have been still?
Oh yeah. Yeah, what it looked like. If you go through the U.S. Postal Service with no kind of protection, you're going to get folded, and your corners are going to get beat up. And oh yeah. That's exactly how a book looks. A catalog looks when you get it through the mail with no protection.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised they made it without the cover being ripped off. I'm imagining somewhere out there's a book with no cover.
Probably. You never know. We're never going to know if all of them got there. It's just that Jeff has assured everybody, Mr. Hicks has assured everybody that the book will be reprinted and will be shipped out correctly. Hopefully, it'll, and if he has the funds and the sense, I would recommend he square bind that baby just so it looks completely different from what people got shipped before.
Well, that's a good question to ask.
Definitely
Randy.
put a piece of art on that back cover, bud.
And that's a good question, and we talked about that on
Stick
Twitter.
a mailing label on it, you know.
That was a good question. We talked about it on Twitter. We talked last night, not you and I, but me and some other people in a Twitter group. Jeff Hicks has announced that he's going back to print with the book.
Yeah.
Does he now owe the backers something extra in the book or in the presentation of the book? Since he,
Well, apparently the artwork that was shown up on Twitter was a backup story that wasn't checked at the last minute that got through. That's the story that I've heard, at least. The one with the type error, he needs to correct the type error if he can. And does he need to send anything else other than a heartfelt mea culpa? Probably not. People are just more interested in getting a hold of the book. He did make it a point to tell everybody, hang on to those books because they might actually be valuable someday. It's like, well, yeah, So when I was telling you yesterday, I really want to do a book exactly like that now that goes through the mail and gets beat up and looks like, because comics to me were always meant to be disposable and rolled up into your back pocket anyway. So that's why I did the Flint Comics paper for a decade. Got rid of your green screen? Or are you hoping to hook up your or are you? Oh, you are gone. Okay, well, it's just me, but at least we're set up. So anybody have any questions? Hey, what was the con you were talking about? Which con was that? Rob, sorry, I'm not sure. There is a Great Lakes convention coming up here pretty shortly down in Warren, I believe, if that's the con that Varian was talking about. So Trico says comics is a lot like one night stands. Use plenty of protection. Never give them your home address. I guess. Not part of crowdfunding though, because you want it to get there. So that's if it was remotely feasible, I'd love to do a disposable comic like that and just ship it to people in the mail and give them the another tier option of getting it sent to them in a correct backing board and stuff, but make it a little bit more expensive. It would be kind of fun. Someone was crowdfunding. Varian said someone was crowdfunding and asked for help. I'm not sure about that. He must have been. He must have talked about that while I was off the air, trying to get back into this room. So, Rob, as soon as he comes back, we will definitely ask him about that. In the meantime, thanks for being here and thanks for putting up with our inadequacies. So, in the meantime, I think we have another connection working up here. Nope. In the meantime, it's just me. I am here. If you have any questions in the chat, feel free to ask. What's going on? Rob's getting a award, end of the year award setup rolling. He's at the I don't remember the exact name for it now, but folks can go over there and take a look. Indie Creators, right? Am I wrong, Rob? And take a look. I think some of that voting is public. He's giving away Indie Comics Awards. If you haven't seen Rob Anderson's site, definitely look him up on Facebook. So don't leave me hanging out there, folks. I see that there's 7 of you watching. If we are on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to the Indie Volt channel yet, make sure you do that. You can subscribe to the Zim Geek channel if you want. So, Rob says, guided by you, thank you very much. Well, I'm more than happy to give you whatever input you want. You know, I'm pretty free with my opinions. Just ask anybody. Independent Creators Awards, that's what it's called. So you can find that page. He just created a group page, I believe, yesterday or so over on Facebook. You can go over there and take a look. Apparently, Varian's really having a hard time getting back in because he's not even in the green room. So, We're just going to keep talking. Anybody have anything you want to talk about? We could talk about the Jeff Hicks experience over at Larry. We had Larry on from Rebel Comics and Games on our last podcast on Tuesday, and he had put up a really great video where he dissected the stealing solo problem and went through and gave a lot of recommendations. It's really from what I saw, I didn't watch the entire thing. I think I'm about 15 minutes or 20 minutes shy on finishing that up, but it was a good video, and I'm sure Larry will be on again sometime very soon. And if you want to have more on that situation, you're on the stealing solo situation, please go over to his site, because he can use all the attention that he can get also. And he's very opinionated, and he's a creator, does Niobe, I believe the name of his book is. He's going to be starting a Kickstarter here very quickly. So, something else to look forward to. You see, Gail Godot said Wonder Woman isn't just for women. It has a strong message. Sure. Well, that's the way all of the entertainment ought to be, Rob. It ought to be made for everybody, and you pull whatever messages out of it that you need to pull out of it, you know? And just because somebody doesn't look exactly like you or has your exact skin color, it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy it, you know? One of my favorite things about comics, especially when I was younger, I grew up in a real small town and a very enclosed community and very religious, very hardcore religious sect. And finding comics, especially comics with other viewpoints, was very welcome for me. It was expanded my world, and that's my belief about comics in general, is that the more opinions, the more viewpoints, the better. It's just that folks have to have the skills, you know, and they have to have the training in order to do it correctly and to do it well and entertainingly. That's been my big problem with a lot of the mainstream stuff lately, is that they just grab people off the street or people that they think know how to write, but they might know how to write, but they don't know how to write comics. So you end up with a jumbled, slow, sleeping mess instead of a great piece of sequential art, which they could actually do if they wanted to apply themselves and learn the craft, which most of them don't want to. They're in a hurry to go out and write their Netflix deal or their next TV script. So, and instead, a lot of these guys, if you're noticing, a lot of these guys that are working at the mainstream end up bouncing down in order to get more attention, down to Dark Horse or IDW or Valiant or the secondary publishing companies, and then they end up bouncing down again, eventually to Image, where the Image printing situation is completely different from any other alternative, especially large alternative company, because Image doesn't lose money on anything that they print. If they print something that doesn't break a break-even point, well, the creators have to make that up. So, and again, see, Gail Godot said Wonder Woman isn't just for women, has a strong message. And was there any fallout from our special? There was. I'm sure Varian has a couple of emails. There wasn't anything that I know of that was negative. Most everything that I had heard from Varian, because Varian receives all of the emails, it doesn't go to me, was all pretty positive. So, and I thought it was a real positive piece. I was real happy to have that. And if you haven't seen that, we did put a broadcast out. When did we do that? Last week, I believe. Last Friday. We, Rob and myself and Varian were together last Friday. It's up over at the Indie Volt channel over on YouTube. It's a little over an hour long, and it's well worth your time to watch. So, independent books of all shapes and sizes, and that's my belief, in all viewpoints, and as diverse a viewpoint as you can possibly get your hands on. That's what makes comics, man. That's what makes art. Comics, especially indie comics, to me are just the purest form communication right now that you can do. And it's, except for anymore, a lot of the songwriters are independently produced out there. If you find the good ones, they're very few and far between, in my opinion. But when you get somebody who is out there doing art, you just want to listen to their whole catalog. So, is there anything else going on in the chat, folks? Feel free to speak up. Right now, it's just me. Varian's probably still trying to probably plug his computer back into the wall. So if it's still alive, if he hasn't thrown it across the room yet. So let me make a quick check on the old Facebook. And in the meantime, if there's anything you want to talk about, feel free to contact us in the chat. Or me, I guess it's me right now. Feel free to contact me in the chat. I'm tired of talking to myself. So. Not Lola. She's still trying to grind in. There's a familiar face wearing his famous cap and his Marvel shirt. He's waving. He's shaking his head no. Should I kick you back? Oh, I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Yeah. Well, I'm over at Lola Station now, so.
Okay. With the lights on, so.
Yeah. You see, and I'm over at Lola Station, which is located conveniently next to the kitchen.
Next to the kitchen.
That's right. Make me a sandwich.
Time for breakfast. It is the breakfast buzz after all. I did. We did actually have somebody else in the green room that we can pull in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's find out what's going on in the world.
He called in. He has an opinion about what's going on in the world.
Excellent.
What do you have to say? Speak up.
Terrible things are going on in the world right now.
Terrible things going on in the world right now.
So, Randy.
How dare you? How dare you?
Anyway,
there's a one of the questions from the Twitter. I know you just answered the other one, but my computer crashed.
I answered a question. Rob was asking about a con coming up, and somebody had a question for. I have to climb up that. Varian said someone was crowdfunding and asked for help.
Yeah, there was a gentleman crowdfunding a Comic-Con. He hasn't launched it yet. He wrote in. I asked him to come on the show. He may just do that this Tuesday coming up. He's crowdfunding a Comic-Con that he wants to do in I think it was in the Bahamas, if I'm not mistaken. But he wants to do it, that's what we talked about. And
excuse me a minute, I have to barf up a lung. Hang going offline here.
And Randy and I have griefed him because it sounds like it's gonna be FireCon all over. It's gonna be
with a Y.
Yeah. It's gonna be it's gonna be a bad idea. So me and Randy said, well, and he said, we could be invited. So I'm like, you know what? If you invite us, we'll come down. We're just saving up enough money so that we can get back home when the whole thing goes.
There you go, south. Farther south.
Yeah.
No, M3SOZ, not a slow news day. It's just that Varian has all of the info, all of the emails, and all the Twitter talk, and I just have to wing it when he's not on the air.
You answered my question about does Jeff Hicks owe people anything extra in that book?
Does he? No. No, not really. I don't think so. It's just everybody gets a little extra with that beat up book, but he does need to make a good product. He does need to impress people, and he does need to. He needs to. The biggest reward he could give people right now is a major mea culpa, which I don't think he's going to give, and an explanation as to how he messed up, so that nobody else follows in his wonderful footsteps.
Right.
Unless they want to do a disposable comic, which I think would be cool.
It would be nice to do a disposable book.
Ted's in the chat. Ted Davies.
How's it going, Ted?
Hey, Ted.
I see. Yeah. The other question is another comment from last week. So I'm looking at my other computer over in the corner, just struggling to stay alive. But the other question that someone had online was if we think a campaign manager, social media man, social media manager, but a campaign manager for crowdfunding. We talked about that on Tuesday's show. If it's a good idea when it comes to the split of money, because someone could, would a campaign manager have full access to your account? Would they be able to move any of the money around? Maybe stuff a grand or two in their own pocket.
Well, there have been worse jobs in
Yeah.
comics, I'm sure, but
Um,
I think that personally that it would cause a little bit more tension, but
mhm.
nobody expected comics as a medium or an art form to swing so hard into crowdfunding the way that it has.
Right.
And it never would have if people would have been a little bit more empathetic. We've had that discussion. There are certain people out there now that I when I was at a latest show, I absolutely had to go out and get their autograph because they have changed the medium of comics. From their pigeonholing and uh, their canceling, their dogpiling, or they're encouraging their people to dogpile
Mm.
other people out of the business. They're chasing people out of the business, literally chase them into crowdfunding. And they have made these people rich.
Yeah.
So, or not really rich, but they have made them find a new option. That's something that I discovered when you go back and you look at comics history. Every time somebody gets, and we're TV 14 and we're all adults here, so I'm just going to say it. Every time somebody gets screwed in this business and they want to stay in this business, they figure out how to stay in the business. Just like the last 10 years of doing Flint Comics and entertainment, if I was anywhere but in an area that had a water purity problem and chased off all of the local mom and pop outlets, or most of them that couldn't hang on, we had our economy up here is twice devastated, once from GM and once from bad water pipes. That doing a adult, or not an adult, doing a comics and entertainment paper would definitely end up being successful because I had a ton of readers. I just didn't have any advertisers.
Yeah.
So in the area.
Do you think that because
Joshua Perry is finally here. That's okay, Joshua. We're finally here too. So it's all good.
do you think that indie comics need advertisers? And would anybody who makes any comics in the chat ever consider having advertisers?
I think everybody's welcome to try to generate whatever funds they have to in whatever way they can, as long as it's legal.
Mm.
You know.
I was gonna coat my pages in cocaine once, but I was told the printer.
So that's why I paraphrased that, because I knew that was coming. Now the state up here is going around and busting dispensaries because they're checking every strain, every weed that they sell over the counter, and if it ain't state approved, boom, they get jammed. And they're out there looking to jam people up, doing their own independent sales.
Yeah.
Must have the taste. The state must have its taste.
Yeah.
But yeah, any way that you can make money, and if you can generate capital, that a lot of times, for so long, most independent comic creators, I can say, if not all of them, just want to make a living. They just want to live comfortably and pay their bills doing what they love to do. It's been a problem ever since the inception of comics, even with the mainstream people. That's why the cogs are the cogs. That's why Kirby had to kick out 2 books a month, because he just wanted to feed his family and pay his bills and live comfortably.
Well, I'll tell you this, Randy. I am a bit. I don't like running certain ads in my books, and one of the ads I don't run. I understand about saving money and making money and trying to get as much money as you can, chasing that sweet paper. I get it, but sometimes it's just an insult, because when you go to some printers and they'll ask, "Hey, can we run an ad in your book?" Especially on-demand printers,
right?
I've brought up what I'm. Like, okay, well, yeah, run an ad. When they ask you, where can you run the ad? Inside front cover, somewhere in the middle of the book, back cover, inside back cover. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And I ran all those numbers down on a book. but a color book.
Yeah.
So color ad
Mhm.
on a typical, 28, 30 page book.
Yeah.
And they were paying me when I looked at the quantity of books I was printing.
Uh-huh.
They were paying me. I was basically saving about 15 bucks.
$15.
15 bucks, and
How
I
many were you
said,
printing though?
that particular book, I think we ran about 400.
Yeah. See, you might be looking at this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at the dollar amount of how much you're saving, and
Mm-hmm.
I've had stuff print on demand before too.
Mm-hmm.
That they've ran their ad. I had them run their ad on the back page, not because I didn't want to put a piece of art on the back page, but when these guys have to put their ad somewhere in your product, they sure as heck are going to take a lot more pride in it and watch it a hell of a lot better coming off the press than somebody who doesn't have their ad in it.
Mm.
And for me, because I've only had 2 products done by this particular company, I was real happy to have them put their ad on the back cover because it'll make them take pride in the product that they're doing. Not that I've ever seen anything bad come out of that particular printer. And I knew what to expect going in because I'd seen plenty of product from them before I took anything to them.
Yeah.
But having that there gives you that, it's a little bit more reassurance that there's going to be a little bit of a little bit more care taken on your product because they have their name associated with it.
I never see anything bad come out of that printer, but the printer that I was using, that was out of state, it was owned by a famous comic book creator. When I looked at what they were paying me, it basically 450 books.
Stan Lee had a printing company?
No.
That's
But
not how big you are.
I was
That's how
like-
big they think you are.
they were giving me 15 bucks off, and I'm like, no way, that's an insult. Don't run an ad. And so I'll pay the extra $15. Screw you, because I just felt
They just printed a few extra thousand and warehoused them anyway because it was cheaper to get it done in Korea. Anyway.
I just felt like that was like really, really, like, I don't know, like a slap in the face to me. Like, wow, you're gonna give me 15 bucks off to run an ad in
Like
my
I
book.
said, you might have been looking at that wrong, but
I mean, but then you see them go to conventions and pay, Reed Pop, a couple of $1,000 to hang a banner, and you're like, wow,
yeah.
Let's see here. Rob Anderson is doing. Have you talked about his new Hall of Fame? Basically, his Hall of Fame's
I
comic award
covered
show?
it slightly while you were off the air.
Okay.
That's wow when he's on there. Need to be wow. Anyway, did you release an original comic book idea? Enter the Originality Award. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's
He's got a lot. He's got many awards there that are looking for nominations.
Yeah. So we should all go over there and fill in everything. Fill in. I hope there's a newscast award.
There's a media podcast on air personality award.
Is it?
Yeah, yep. I might help pull some attention to a podcast. Are we fully wired up now that you're visual?
Yeah.
So we're hooked in everywhere, right? Our Indie Volt radio listeners are online.
Yep, the Indie Volt Radio is still online.
Thank you for hanging with us this morning, Indie Volt radio listeners. I don't know if I connected you up there or not, but
no. Well, yeah, I got it set in a back channel to go over there.
Cool.
Yeah, so they're probably wondering what the hell. But
how come you're late? How come you're late?
So if you were listening to a song, we just kind of cut it abruptly. That's why.
Yep.
But yeah, we have.
I'll know better than to run any music anymore. Holy crap!
Yeah. Lola came out and asked me, "Hey, did you get a notice from Facebook? They muted some of the video."
That's why I pulled out. So
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Now I know. Thank you for that. Though I've seen the other live streams that have run music have been on Facebook. So
yeah,
I guess now we know they have the algos running. Yeah. Dave the Supreme says, "Good morning, everyone." Good morning, Dave. Thanks for coming in. Coming
MVS
on.
says, honestly, YouTube is so wishy-washy. It could shut down creators tomorrow. It could. I mean, they've been doing a lot of changes over there on YouTube.
Yeah, we're here first of the year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here.
Yeah, there's gonna be a.
You never
In
know.
fact, once again, in a little Twitter, group I'm in, they were saying that YouTube has the final word. I'm sure everyone here is aware of what COPA is, and YouTube is now saying they have the final word on what COPA, who has a kids channel, who doesn't. So if they feel that your target audience is for kids, and you say no, it's not, they're gonna say, well, yeah, it is, because you have Star Wars videos up, or you have action figure videos up, or
I don't know if that's necessarily true, because if they have the final word on that decision, that means they're responsible if they're wrong.
well, yeah, but in this case, wouldn't they be rather wrong, or wouldn't they rather be wrong against a creator who maybe has 8,000 bucks in the bank versus that was it, what, how was it, $45,000 fine?
Yeah, it's a 40 grand fine, but it's a 40 grand fine that goes directly to the creator.
Yeah.
And YouTube wants plausible deniability.
Right.
And then they want to go, wasn't us. Hey, he mislabeled himself. Screw that. Unless the FTC has come down and said, no, YouTube, it's you we're going to fine. And then the rules change again.
I wonder if YouTube realizes that, what the thing was, the artists were very upset because there was a rumor out Tuesday that they were going to consider any drawing tutorial for children.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, wait, any drawing tutorial? So you think about it. I think Robert Friend, is that his name? Robert Friend, he does a lot of drawing tutorials. Rob Marzullo does a lot of drawing tutorials.
Mm-hmm.
You've done a couple.
He does, but Rob Marzullo also has enough sense not to know that there are 13-year-olds that are listening to him. So he's very careful about his content. Even though he does. Hi, here's how you draw Venom chopping a person in half, or biting a person in half. It's not the violence that matters; it's the the soundtrack and what you're saying, and if you're trying to corrupt the minds of the youth. It's okay for Marvel to do it, but don't you do it. Not right. No.
And Marvel can do it. Marvel can corrupt all they want.
These big megacorps get to do whatever they please, but hello. Anyway.
And I think Dave the Supreme has done some painting tutorials on YouTube. Better be careful, Dave. Better be careful. You'll be an example. You'll be Dave the Supremely.
Well, there's going to come a time, and Facebook has the exact same problem, where you go to show a Victorian painting or a like the Statue of David by Michelangelo, and you're going to get your butt. Your wrist slapped, your butt fined, because you're showing naughty bits.
There's a pin 15.
Evil naughty bits. Anyway.
There's a pin 15 in this picture.
Yeah.
Very small pin 15. I've seen Michelangelo's David, and it's it's like yeah, it's pretty bad. Also, Randy, with that
all I know is they knew how to paint women back in the Victorian days. Those are women. Anyway,
we had a question. I have to read it from here. There was a writer, someone who wrote in. I can't see the name from here though. Okay. Oh, well, they're upset about this is just as they were making progress in how the messages that indie comics are putting out. It seems that a lot of people want to go back to mindless entertainment and blissful ignorance in their comics. What do you guys think about that? Is that what comics are supposed to be? Mindless entertainment, blissful ignorance, and do comics necessarily need a message?
Do I need to consult my book about this?
Go ahead. Let's see. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's an art form. It's a communication form. And yes, there's some people out there that are doing mindless material in order to make money, and there's other people out there who are doing deep, metaphorical messages out there who know how to write and know how to tell, things artistically and communicate things better than some. And you just have to look. You just have to go around and snoop around. So there was a whole. It would be different if we were going through an entire period like we did back in the 80s, where we went from black and white books that covered an entire run of Spectrum. They was booming. You had deep, artistically done, really incredible black and white IPs out there, and you had some guy or group or whatever who come out with the generic comic that was blank, and the Samurai Santa and Chainsaw Santa and Chainsaw Samurai and all of that, and everybody and their brother was doing their turtle imitation that couldn't quite come close to what Eastman and Laird were doing. And you just have to go out there and keep looking, because if you're finding that your independent comics are suddenly becoming mindless, you might be looking in the wrong spot. I mean, it's time to take a few breaths and keep looking, because they're out there.
And I think that you can do those mindless comics if you want. I mean,
there's still people out there that watch Bachelorette out there all the time.
Yeah.
And that makes high ratings. Don't ask me why. I consider it completely mindless. But there is an audience, and comics need to be everything for everybody. They really do. There needs to be mindless entertainment out there. There needs to be scantily clad women out there. There needs to be scantily clad guys out there too.
Yeah.
And there needs to be cooking. Maybe there needs to be cooking comics. There used to be romance comics for quite a while. You don't see those around anymore. Not that I'm out there looking for them. But there's it's a method of communication that you can tell and say whatever you need to, however you need to, as long as you're able to get your point across. And quite frankly, if you're finding the field very mindless at the moment, and they're not producing the work that you want to read, might be time to do some yourself. Get out there. Comics mean something different to every person. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think,
and there's a desperate need for as big a variety out there as possible. So hey, contribute.
Yeah. M3SOZ says there's a lot of mindless real life. Yeah,
it's very true.
Yeah,
very true. Like I said, you turn that TV on and see any talk show out there. There's people out there that groove on, have to have their news channel on 24/7.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of mental state that would put somebody in. I know that to me, a lot of it's mindless.
Nice and not nice and boring. I like
it's repetitious, but that's how you brainwash people, is constant repetition. Anyway.
Yeah, I picked up some comics the other day from a bookstore and some trades, and they run the gamut from anything from just from high art stories all the way down to this is going to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever read. And it's every book is different. I think if I wanted Citizen Kane in every comic I read, I'd be severely disappointed.
Well, if you were a movie buff and you wanted Citizen Kane to be every movie, you'd be sincerely disappointed.
Yeah.
Because again, it's another type of communication.
Yeah.
But even though lately it seems everything's done by committee, and I was going to digress for a second and say, whoever wrote that, to whoever wrote it, well, thanks for writing for one. But if you think the independents are mindless right now, man, you need to read some mainstream books. Wow. I hope you like pizza. Holy crap! Hope you like characters sitting around a table and talking for 20 pages. Oh man.
One punch getting thrown.
That's a anime. One Punch.
No. One Punch Man. Yeah,
One Punch Man probably done a heck of a lot better than the majority of the mainstream books. Right now.
My cousin is he's in the anime. He's in the Mountain Guard, and I've been I sent him some sketchbooks, and I sent him some how to draw manga books, and I sent him art materials. And when I see him at a con, I'll give him something.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to Thanksgiving over at the extended family, but at my aunt's house. They had a little Thanksgiving get together over there with some family members, and I didn't go to that one, but I understand he was there. And the minute he finished eating, my mother told me that he was over in the corner with his book, drawing.
Yeah.
Drawing. I'm like, attaboy.
Oh, you know, I grew up with, like I said, I grew up in a really hardcore religious sect, and comics literally kept me sane. You know, and it introduced me to a lot of different ideas and a lot of different cultures that I, growing up in a little small town, you know, in the corner of the county, you just never saw. So,
Yeah.
absolutely, if you got to sit there and draw, that's and again, you're using art as a communication tool. It's not just expanding your mind to think more creatively, but you're also getting your emotions out and down on paper. So there's a lot to be said for art therapy.
Another person here from or Ask Me Anything. The name they're trying to figure out what to name their comic press. They have a couple questions. One of which is the name they would like to go by is Flim Flam Comics.
Flim Flam.
Yeah,
That's a cool name.
yeah,
That's a cool name. But the Gary Reed, God rest his soul, and I had that discussion about naming comic companies because that one of my comic companies was named Weeby. We had a little B, like the Cheerios B. That was the logo. It wasn't my name, but it was the guy who had the money's name, so that was the name of the company. You know, the main backer's name wanted it called, you know, Weeby Comics. He started a retail shop up here under the same name, and we used that B as his little branding logo. But Gary and I had a talk about what you should call your comic company. Gary Reed was the founder creator of Caliber Press, and he said you need to have your name, because he retailed for many years. He said he recommended your name start with a A, B, or C, because by the time the retailer is going through and ordering comics for his store, he's ordering 3 months in advance. He's dealing with a really tight budget. He's only got so much money to spend. By the time he gets around the D's and the E's, he doesn't have a whole lot of money, especially for a new upstarting company. So if you have an A, B, or C in your name, they're more likely to see you and see your product before they have to stop and they have to go, oh, I've only got so much left in my budget. I better hit Dark Horse. I better hit IDW. I better hit whoever, you know, Boom. Well, Boom is in that ABC category. That's why he called himself Caliber Press, was because the company started with a C.
So was Kevin Sambita smart in having the A plus?
He was never solicited in the. This was long before. Yeah, A plus was out long before the direct market.
Okay.
So he had problems, you know, getting that book distributed. That's why it only ran a few issues. Plus, he found his future in gaming, so he stopped and went over there. But Arrow Comics, we called ourselves Arrow Comics because we figured we'd slide in right after Archie. I called myself Massive Comics because back in the day when previews actually used to treat everybody kind of equally before they really had the big exclusive boom. Massive would slide in right behind Marvel. So you do want to give some thought to your company name. Just don't take Arrow, because Arrow's taken. So, but you know, at Chew Comics, hit that thesaurus or hit that dictionary.
Professor Trico
start going through, and just keep that in mind. Though I don't know if that's really going to hold true, especially with crowdfunding, and especially with the way the retailers kind of look at the green section anymore. I don't think there's a whole lot of browsing going on. Some of the better retailers are still browsing through there and looking through everything in the catalog so that they know their market. But a lot of retailers anymore are doing their doing their ordering form last minute, right before it has to be turned in. So when they get to the green section, it's Dark Horse, IDW, Valiant, boom, maybe, and then done, and then or Image, and then they're done. You know, they have their set hits. Well, Image, I guess, is outside anymore, aren't they? They're an exclusive. Is Dark Horse is an exclusive? Is IDW an exclusive?
I think Dark Horse is out of the green section.
Yeah. All of the really important companies are out of the green section.
My I guess former
Back of the bus is what that green section is. Anyway,
my former comic bookstore. He used to give me all of his
previews.
previews books, and I would bring them home, and they ended up stacking up in my office. Just these huge amounts of previews books, and which are pretty much useless to me, right? They're useless. I can't do anything with them unless I want to get somebody an order number, which only happened like twice. But
each one of those previews is a little time capsule too, by the way.
Yeah, they are. So I've got previews books, and it's ridiculous. But I will tell you this, and it's something that okay.
To go back to I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, it's something that I noticed that the wife has taken some of the old ones and she makes stuff out of them now. But naming your comic company is important.
Build a birdhouse in your soul. Yeah.
Naming your comic company is important, and I think that if you pick a name that one isn't, you have to make sure they don't age. Don't use anything that's currently in vogue.
Yeah, make sure nobody else is using that name. Absolutely. Google searches come in handy.
What were you going to say, Randy?
I was just going to read Trico's remark that you've got there in the bottom. I recently read a book yesterday that was issue number 2 or 3, and it was just characters standing and telling exposition. I found it in the dollar bin and still felt ripped off. LOL. Yeah, they're out there.
I tried to be smart, and in one of my comics, I have a character, and she's talking on the earpiece to another guy, the hero of the book, and she says, "Hey, are you ready for a bunch of exposition?" And she's like, "Go ahead," and she tells him what's going on, and I just thought that was my little clever way of saying because I'm a smart writer.
They just had an episode of Crisis where they popped up on the Wave Rider, and Sarah, who's the leader, says nobody else is here. I promised them they never had to do another crossover ever again. And then in the third episode, Elongated Man says something, and they look at him kind of funny. He goes, "Excuse him, this is his first crossover."
That's cool. Yeah. Paul Show says there's more action episode of the Steven Universe than a year's worth of mainstream superhero books. That's my problem with the big two.
Yeah, they did. Comparing anything to Steven Universe, not healthy.
And then Rob says, if you gents aren't afraid of real conversation, is feminazi a bad term or accurate term? Man, I think let me put it back up there.
I would have to say it is. It doesn't matter if it's an accurate term or not. It's a trigger to the feminists, and it's the kind of thing that you would say in order to, if you're in a conversation or a debate with someone, that you would. It's a trigger word. Really, I think it was Rush Limbaugh that first created that term. It's a trigger word that you would use in a debate in order to throw the walls up and to get that person to stop thinking because they heard that word Nazi. And is that going to get us into trouble? They heard that other N word,
yeah,
and it throws them. It's just like saying the B word to my ex-wife and calling her a B, and that's a trigger. It's a trigger word that you don't really want to use if you want to have a serious debate. If you want to just piss them off and get them to walk away, definitely a word to throw in there.
I'll tell you this, and this is totally off topic, but I have not met a woman that is upset about the B word. In fact, I know one young lady.
That's a difference in our cultures.
Well, I know one young lady.
And the ex-wife. Anyway, never mind.
I know one young lady.
Sorry.
I know one lady. She's
probably listening, and I'll hear. Don't ever talk about me again on the podcast. Oh, sorry.
I know one young lady who the B word didn't bother her, and she then while joking around one day, her boyfriend called her the C word,
Mm-hmm.
and she told me later, she says, "Oh my God,
See you next Tuesday.
yeah."
Mm-hmm.
It didn't piss her off. In fact, how can I say this nicely? She's ready to go at that moment.
It rather excited her.
Yeah, rather excited her, the C word. And
You haven't seen Porky's.
and
There we go.
and she was
It
so
happens.
I don't know. I think feminine N word is well, first of all, they're shutting it down on YouTube. The
Yeah.
algorithms are going to be looking for the 4-letter N word, and if they hear you say it, they're going to pull your video.
That's
I
why
can see
we probably just got pulled on YouTube. Damn.
well, it starts in January.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, starts in January. So I think that
Hey, Larry.
yeah,
Rebel Comics and Games just popped in here.
I don't
home.
think that but I do think it's. I don't think it's a. I don't know if it's a. I mean, I guess it is a bad term that is triggering. I mean, it's like, if you're having an argument with a black person and you use the other N word, if you say that to load that wall up, I got you. So I guess feminazi could be considered, that a bad term to use, but
M3SOZ.
Oh.
I want to live in your world.
I do not think it was outside the internet. I've
Yeah, they do, buddy. They do. It's just that when you have the privacy of your own home or you're looking straight at your own phone, it comes out a lot easier. But
Yeah.
they're there. I did a newspaper for 10 years, and I was always nervous about what I called the angry mom mob.
yeah.
Because I got it a couple times. I didn't want to have it. I didn't ever want to see it again. So yeah, they're there. They're there.
But yeah, Rob, I do think it's. I think it's that. I probably think it's becoming a bad term. It's becoming a bad term.
No. It's always been a trigger term, and it's been a term that Limbaugh created specifically because he knew that that's the ire that would be raised, and Limbaugh's in the business to make people angry. It's what they used to call shock jocks back in the old radio days. Tom Likas was the same way. There's a lot of these political pundits out there that have their key words that they like saying because they know somebody in the radio is going to listen that doesn't quite agree with their political situation, and they're going to hear that word and they're going to go, "Oh, what?" And then they'll call in, and they thrive on venting hate and anger.
I got a word for people
It's
like
a trigger
that.
word.
I got a trigger word. People punk asses. That's why I use all. What's your punk ass?
Tree huggers, Clintonista. That's all words from Limbaugh made for people to get triggered and to call up angry so that he can laugh at them and make them even more mad, and that gets higher ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Moral police. Oh yeah.
Is this why by Magpie? Yeah. You can buy them here. We got
Sorry, I didn't mean to step past you there.
Oh, no problem.
And I just took it off again. There we are.
Yeah.
Mogwai? Yes.
Yeah.
Be careful though. Mogwai could be a trigger term. You say that around somebody who's in love with Baby Yoda, they might go off.
Mm-hmm. How dare you? M3SOZ says, you put that. You put up, Randy.
I'll throw it.
Well, that is always existed. Angry moms and church ladies, moral police. Yeah.
Just that it's more frequent now. The social media gives them more encouragement to be vocal. So, and as it's been pointed out a lot of times on YouTube, there's usually about a dozen of them. They all get together and they all start screaming. And,
yeah.
It's not pretty, but I always found with the paper, whenever I ran into that, the best thing to do is to ignore them. Because they're looking for that attention. And if you give them that attention, then you'll get it back even harder. It's like an echo chamber. It just come right back on you. So best thing to do is just go, you're weirdos, and just don't pay them any attention.
Rob says, but doesn't it fit women? He's talking about the feminine word.
Fit women who hate men and go out of their way to attack men. just for having a penis.
15.
It's personal opinion. You know, you could say the same thing with any feminist without having to throw that N word in at the back of it.
I think that if and
Radical feminism. It's the same explanation. Yeah.
I've been lucky in that I haven't encountered any men hating women. I've encountered,
buddy.
yeah,
Oh no, go. I was thinking women hating men. I was going to say we're in an art form that thrived for many decades on misogynistic male power fantasies.
I've encountered any women who just hate men for the long term. I mean,
Yeah.
I've met women who they dated that guy. They really wish they didn't. They're swearing off men for the next couple weeks, and until the next guy who's exactly like the guy they just love comes along. But
Or worse.
yeah, or worse. And he's great. But
That's a personal problem right there.
yeah, I've never really came across it. Now I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I mean, I've looked online and I've seen women say some pretty, that's where you have these MGTOWs coming up. Have you read it? Have you looked at those? Randy, have you looked at those MGTOWs?
We have those what come up?
MGTOWs. Men going their own way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I needed that defined, so
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean now. Yes.
Yeah. The guys who are like, nope, straight Jack and says you that mad cream.
Well, the thing that threw me, I think I told you this. I got Comcast up here, and they have some rogue, oddball stations with weird videos on it. If you dig, I didn't have anything to do, so I was surfing through and found this. And they had they actually had a couple of SJWs do a video up there about how if you're a girl out there and you happen to run across a MGTOW and you can get them, and if you can get them laid, you might want to take one for the team for the good of all humanity. And I'm not kidding. That video was actually up there.
Really?
Absolutely. Yep. You'll change this guy's life. And they were talking about the word they were throwing around as well as MGTOW was incel.
Yeah.
Which I find almost as much of a trigger word as the word that Rob was asking about earlier.
Incel has become a bit of a trigger term, hasn't it?
I find it offensive.
Yeah?
Yeah. But I used to find geek offensive too, so and I use it now. So.
Yeah.
Attitudes and understanding.
Hey, what happened to introvert? Has introvert is it fallen by the wayside? Is no longer?
Oh no, it's still out there. It's just not used as much because people don't speak nicely to each other anymore.
Yeah.
They'll use incel instead, especially if they're angry.
Yeah.
Those are the I don't have to understand shit people.
Yeah. Which you can get on the I don't have to understand shirt very shortly. Wow. On indievote.com in our shop.
IndieVolt merchandising. Uh-oh.
That's right. That shirt actually will be available this coming Friday. Actually, a couple things will be up there Friday. We'll talk about.
I still have to do my designs.
Yeah.
Gotta,
I don't know if I
gotta find a picture of a good hobby horse.
And one of the other questions, Randy, is how come we don't have any female creators on the show? And that was from Elizabeth G.
Well, we've had Stephanie.
We've had Stephanie. We've had
Katrina on.
Yeah, we had Dorothy's Jean from Nia Caller and Spirit's Destiny.
And we don't mean to be or appear to be misogynistic in the least. And if you have any suggestions of a good indie female creator, we will happily look them up and see if they will come on.
Yeah, we and there, our show was pretty much of a open door policy.
Open forum, yep.
Yeah,
just contact us. Contact Varian.
Yeah, we're in a group. Randy and I on Facebook. On Facebook on Facebook and on Twitter of creators, and these are free to join groups.
You have an Indie Volt page on Facebook, right?
Yeah, we have an Indie Volt. We have an Indie Volt page on Facebook. We have an Indie Volt creators sub page. It's a group page where people can come in. Hey, I want to come on the show, and they're more than welcome to do that. But the other thing is, I will say this to the Elizabeth G. There is a sad sad lack
Oh,
of
and
females
she
who
doesn't.
join.
She obviously doesn't consider Lola to be a creator.
Yeah, yeah. And it's Professor Tricos is
I've got people that tell me that she creates a lot every
yeah.
time they see her on the program.
Lola is on every week, and she runs an imprint for Last Call. She does.
Yep.
She's the co-owner, and Lola's also starting her own imprint because
And she's really, don't let Varian fool you, she's really the one that's computer savvy who does a lot of the workings behind the scene on this board. So
yeah.
if you were here earlier and saw that gray screen, that was not Lola's fault.
No, that was that would have been me. She came out and made sure I got on her station. Like, do your show, hurry up. We'll fix the other one later. It really is, guys. It's there's a lack of females that want to be a little.
That's because she got on the air and saw my flop sweat. That's what it was. Randy's sounding like a dinkus. Get on the air.
Saw your violation come across, and it's like, oh my God, get on the air quick.
Well, you live and learn. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, there's she's
yeah. Tricos says Lola is the Bill Finger of Indie Volt.
Yeah, I'm totally
and
no
the
credit.
Terry Robinson all rolled into one.
Yeah. Totally no credit given them. You know what's funny? I'll tell you guys a funny story about Indie Volt. When I first conceived the idea, I went and bought the domain. Funny story. I bought the domain, and I thought that I typed in Indie Vault, VAULT.
Oh, yeah.
and I didn't. So for some, I went to, and I thought that, what did I type in? Like a week later, I'm like, I went to the site. I'm like, did I type in Indie Bolt, BOLT? No, wait a minute, Volt, VA, and I'm like, so I had to go all the way into my GoDaddy account. I'm like, Indie Volt. What was I typing quick? Was I typing? And I think what happened was it must have told me the domain I wanted was purchased.
Yeah.
And I just clicked it like, oh, okay, and yes, I got it. And yeah. So that's how Indie Volt came along. And to be honest with you, Lola at first thought, because it was at first going to be a podcast, and Lola thought it was a bad idea. That was a horrible idea. And because he says that's actually better, I'm stealing it. Oh, I got it.
I got it.
It's actually better. I'm stealing it. Yeah.
Earlier, M3SOZ also said everyone has an equal voice on the internet, mostly none. LOL, social weapons, men versus women, gay versus straight, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, the internet does kind of give you an equal playing field. Like no voice can be louder than the other.
The key is it's only if you get people to listen.
Randy, do you see in Comic Cons, and me and you know of situations at shows where creators put themselves in these these groups, but she also thought the raccoon hat was a bad idea. She did, and the raccoon hat is a hit. She has no style. None whatsoever. Yeah, she has no style.
I don't think that hat says much for your sense of style. Anyway, sorry, got away from your thought. Go ahead.
What do you think about creators who are kind of walling themselves off in this? Or did you ever see creators start to attach themselves to other people in the industry and kind of insulate themselves, gather a following of not even like-minded individuals, but just friends, so that they can gain power, so they can abuse the convention system?
Sheeple.
Yeah,
you see that on social media right now. There's people that have sheeple that follow them, and they dogpile. That's how dogpiling happens.
Yeah,
so and so said you suck, so obviously you suck. I'm gonna go up there and on your site or your Twitter page or whatever and tell you suck.
I'm seeing that at cons now. I'm seeing creators doing that and starting to use their followings, even taking their social media following and using it at shows to get their way.
Well,
And
that's interesting because it's been pointed out on a few videos, and I've seen it at a few conventions, that those people that do have those sheeple people that follow them a lot, they're usually the ones with the most largest void, especially professionals out there.
mhm.
They're the ones that are now sitting behind the table by themselves, might have one person walk up or two people walk up and talk to them. The majority of the people just, don't want to have much to do with them.
I will say this to people, and that
They're
was a
the ones
question that was,
doing and we're talking big guys, not folks that people don't know, or
yeah.
indie creators that are there in order to push their latest book that nobody's aware of. We're
Mhm.
talking about long-standing comic professionals that are
Mhm.
sitting behind tables doing this, twiddling their thumbs. People don't want to have anything to do with them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I just,
that's the joy and polarization of some of this uh, BS political, social uh, SJW-ness, I guess I might say.
and also our contest also continues. If anybody can tell me who the heck that lady is on my shirt here, we still have no idea who she is. Uh,
Next to Captain America.
and next Captain America. So go back and look at the video. Pause your screen if you can guess who it is.
Apparently it looks like it was drawn by John Romita or John Buscema.
If you can guess who it is or tell us who it is, we can verify that's who it is. We'll send you something. I don't know.
Pretty sure it's Captain Inclusion.
I
Except
did
there's
run across an article, Randy, that said making Carol Danvers Captain Marvel
Mhm.
instead of letting her keep her Miss Marvel tagline or name took away her femininity, took away her power. What do you think about that?
Well, anybody who's gone back and really looked at the history of Carol Danvers,
Yeah.
which obviously, and I want to get that name right. Who came back with her? Was that McCain? I'd have to do some digging in order to really find her.
Mm-hmm.
The girl that they allowed to bring that property back.
Was it Kelly Sue DeConnick?
Kelly Sue McConaughey. Yes.
DeConnick.
Thank you. McConaughey.
DeConnick. D-A. Yeah. Yeah.
DeConnick.
Yeah.
Kelly Sue DeConnick. Actually, that was a problem with the editing because if I was the editor, I'd just would have looked at her and said, "Nice idea. Let's not use Carol Danvers." She was turned into binary and shipped off into space for a reason. And if they had remotely consulted, like Chris Claremont, and maybe they did, they just didn't listen to him. If I was Chris Claremont and happened to be in the office, and said, "You're going to use who?" You know what happened to that character? Holy crap! I sent her out into space for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They quietly removed that character off of the MCU or MC board on purpose because of the writing flaws and the editing goofs that they had done with her. She gave birth. Let's see, how much trouble are we going to get in if we say the R word?
She was struck.
She gave birth to her rapist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And try to wrap your head around that, and yet they felt that character was important enough, large enough, big enough in the Marvel Universe to turn her into the masthead representation for the company. They gave her the Marvel name. I mean, the biggest Marvel name that they can. You can only go up to Admiral Marvel after that. And that doesn't have the ring to it that Captain Marvel has. Not only that, but Captain Marvel as a title, as a name, has an incredibly long legacy that I'm sure Kelly Sue DeConnick really didn't care about. I don't have to understand shit type attitude about. Mm-hmm. But there should have been a lot more respect given to that name. And Marvel, quite frankly, should have had the balls to leave it as Monica Rambeau, because that would have been the smartest thing they could have done, is have turned that Captain Marvel and decided, okay, she's got the Marvel name, we're going to make her the true representation for this company. And that would have been the move for Marvel. But, how often does Storm get a title? And Storm should be just as big as Wolverine and have just as long of a legacy as Wolverine has, and they won't do it. They marry her off to T'Challa, or they do whatever woman things that needs to be done, instead of making her the independent woman that she deserves to be, in my opinion. If PewDiePie endorsed one indie comic, Marvel and DC would go out of business tomorrow. LOL. That and the indie comic would be really big.
Yeah.
But that's PewDiePie.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of editorial goof ups that were made, and quite honestly, in my opinion, that's why Axel Alonso is no longer up there. That's why you're seeing Joe Quesada put out Twitter messages showing his drawing board saying, "Hello, old friend," because he's going back to that drawing board. And they're slowly. We'll see what Kevin Feige does now that he's actually in control. I mean, stopping the television stuff, I think that's his first incredibly positive move in my opinion, especially those Hulu series that were supposed to be coming out, because every last one of them was a major embarrassment, and they should have never announced them. The Howard the Duck cartoon, the MODOK cartoon that they were going to do. All of that stuff's gone. As soon as he got into office, he's like, no. Oh, that Ghost Rider series that was going to be on Hulu? No. We don't want to use a Ghost Rider who runs around with a souped up car. That's just not Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider rides a bike.
Yeah.
We're going to do this Ghost Rider. And I'm sure, I sincerely hope that that's the Ghost Rider that they end up going back to. Just some icons shouldn't be played with, and some icons need to be given the respect. And there's Carol Danvers' prime reason why she was turned into binary and sent off into space was because they had editorially screwed that name up so badly. She just needed to go. I mean, do a cosmic story with her somewhere where she's out there. She gets she probably needs to be disintegrated, but don't have her come back down to Earth with superpowers and decide to be a masthead representation for your company. Mm-hmm. You think the consumers of Marvel and DC have interest in indie books? I think that a lot of the people that are at Marvel and DC want to read, and the ones that are actually still reading these comics want to be entertained. They just need to go out and expand their interest. There's such a prejudice, and it's been ingrained, thanks to Diamond, since the 80s, that you have Marvel and DC, and then you have everybody else. And everybody else has just been trying to climb up that ladder to get anything close to that attention. And that includes Archie and Harvey and all of the other, well, Harvey's not around anymore, but all of the other secondary companies. They're still trying to climb that big mountain to get close to what Marvel and DC is. And Marvel and DC has gotten to the point of apathy or idiocy that their numbers are dropping almost down to independent levels. But people still go into comic shops looking for Marvel and DC product primarily. And then if something else happens to catch their eye, if they're lucky, they'll go out and they'll read that. But it's a matter of the retailer popping in and reprogramming, and you're slowly seeing that. You're seeing a lot of indie books slowly start climbing up numbers, but it's it's a matter of Marvel and DC starting to come down to the indies starting to come up. So
right.
You'll see an equal playing field here within 10 years if the retail shops can hang on and Marvel doesn't completely obliterate them. Or one of the big two companies go out and suddenly decide that it's just not worth printing funny books anymore and go out of business.
I think that consumers have an interest in those books. I think that we need to make sure that those books are comparable or at least can stand alongside, and for the most part they can, those Marvel books, because you got a lot of people out here, just if anything, oh, there's money in that. Here I come with my version of it, and I'm going to cut corners, and it's going to be a cash grab, and you see that, and hey, I hate to say this, but I made $48,000, $52,000. I'm going to spend 2,000 of it on the comic, and hold this 50 grand back as my personal little stash. Hey, I'm going out to dinner every night. Good luck with that comic. And the comic is
As Dave Chappelle would say, "I'm rich, biatch."
Yep, I'm rich, and F everybody else and F this book. Yep. It's out. I mean, you take your eye off the book, you take your eye off one part. It's very important too.
You get lazy.
Yeah.
M3SOZ asks, does the indie market need Marvel and DC to exist inside the direct market? Yes, they do. And that's because, again, Diamond has gone out of their way to engrade on all of the retailers. And the retailers, a lot of these retailers are fans that follow right in that line of thinking. All they want is Marvel and DC product in their store. You'll see there's a lot more stores out there now that cater more to an independent market and like to put the independent market on the same playing field as Marvel and DC. It's just that Diamond refuses to catch up to that mark, and they keep enticing the retailer. The Marvel and DC books actually have a better discount rate, a much better discount rate than anything in the green section. And they have a slightly better discount rate, I believe, than any of the other secondary companies. So the retailer is actually encouraged to pick up the Marvel and DC product well over any of the other stuff in that previews book. So it's gonna take a while and a little bit of education and some quality independent work in order for that really to change. But in the meantime, we have crowdfunding, and that crowdfunding out there there are creators out there now, because they don't have to worry about Diamond's percentage. They don't have to worry about the retailer percentage, that are making more money moving 2,000 books, quite frankly, than what DC's doing moving 20,000 books.
There's one for you, Randy, from Jonathan.
Hey,
Integer.
John, thanks for listening. Looking back, not forward. What happened to Valiant? Oh, well, anyway, couldn't he have claimed equal footing with Marvel and DC? That's a whole nother story. That's like a whole nother great podcast. There's a good documentary in there about that, Jonathan. And it started with them power grabbing the lower or the upper executives back when they were really raging, because money, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the old Stan Lee Spider-Man line, with great power comes great responsibility. And a lot of these Valiant executives up there decided that, well, we don't need this guy who actually knows how to do comics. So let's get rid of Jim Shooter, and, we'll do it ourselves. And as you've seen, that Valiant just went straight down in sales really quick, and to the fact of bankruptcy and having to be bought out by, I think, 3 or 4 times they've been sold out to different entities, and that pass around like a hot potato, very much like, in my opinion, Halo Burgers up here in our area. That was very successful for a while, and then a larger company comes in and goes, "Hey, we can buy that and do it better," and then they go, "No, we can't." Pass it over to the next guy. Equity group, no, we can't. Pass it over to the next guy. That's what Valiant is doing now. But at one point, yes, they were right there. Just like Dark Horse has been right there. Just like Image was way past there. And they've, over successful mismanagement, botched all of those companies down to the wonderful levels that they are today. But Marvel and DC have this big corporate money backing, and DC's money just got a lot bigger. Marvel's got bigger when they got taken over by Disney. DC is now part of AT&T.
Yeah.
So and the bigger money that envelops them, the lower their profits look to these people, and the less care that these people give about these companies. That's why they have the quality control problems that they have today.
Do you think that, Randy, when these companies get bought up by larger entities, do you think that they're a little bit, it's a little bit harder to reach out to them as a fan and say, hey guys, we don't like this.
It's more steps up the ladder, but a lot of these companies aren't listening to the fans now. I mean, look at Valiant's output. Valiant's a prime example of that. Look at their output. They decided that they want to be socially conscious and do this and do that, and it doesn't sell. Instead of trying to make money, they'd rather make political statements or make IPs that they think, well, all of Hollywood's going to want. And you see how fast people are jumping on a faith movie bandwagon. They're lucky to have Bloodshot come out, and Bloodshot's, you know what type of property Bloodshot is, or most anybody that's in the market does. And yet they still have that trailer come out without one single mention of Valiant, based on the best-selling comic book.
From who?
Is all it'll say. It doesn't say based on the best-selling Valiant comic in order to get that Valiant brand out underneath everybody's nose. No, just based on the best-selling comic. Oh, there's a comic? And this guy's based on a comic? I never heard of Bloodshot before.
I think that was on purpose.
I don't know. Oh, well,
because I think if you say based on the mom and pop who go to the store or go to the theater and they sit down and they watch that trailer, they're gonna say, oh, it's based on a comic book. Well, you know what? My grandson loves comic book movies. I'll bring them, even though it might be harder. I'm not sure what the rating is for that.
I don't think Marvel and DC have that much outside recognition, but what a great way to get that outside recognition, to push that in the front of every trailer. Based on the best-selling Valiant comic, then you'd have the mom and dads going in, I'm looking for that Valiant comic. And the retailer's going, cool, which one? Oh, man, I got a ton of them right here. Which one would you like? How far back do you want to go? There's this awesome story called Unity, and all these awesome, great characters way back when that were back when, people were actually concentrating on product quality. That I can sell you those. Oh, Bloodshot. Oh yeah, we have a couple of graphic novels over here.
I just think they didn't put comic book the name of the publisher in there, so people were like, "What the hell is a Valiant comic? Is that Marvel?" You say based on the best-selling comic book. Most people think, "Oh, it's either DC or Marvel." I used to live in a gated community, and one of the guards, he knew I did comic conventions. He would stop me every morning when I would come in from work, and he would say, hey, did you see that new, whatever? So when Avengers came out, you see that new Avengers movie? I did. And he's like, yeah, man, it was really good, but I'm waiting for them to bring, the other characters in there. Like, they couldn't put Green Lantern and Batman in there. They should have been there. And I'm like, they can't do that. That's a different company. But he could not wrap his head around Batman and Green Lantern. He swears up and down.
All the more reason to get your brand out there for Valiant. I consider that to be a big goof on their part, but that's one of many.
Jonathan says,
Dark Horse and IDW have a lot of licensed properties. Why aren't they enough to get more attention? Do they need a cohesive universe? Comics' greatest world was misnamed, and Ultraverse was derivative. Ultraverse is a whole different story. That wasn't shut down, or that didn't go out of business because it was unpopular. In fact, they were gaining a lot of ground. Ultraverse was part of Malibu that was bought up by Marvel. And Marvel told everybody up front that they were buying out Malibu in order to get their coloring system, which was basically Photoshop. And that was, in my opinion, totally misleading, because the numbers on Ultraverse were really climbing. A lot of the Ultraverse characters were horrible derivatives of Marvel characters that were already out there. Just take a look at Prototype and tell me that's not Iron Man. But the real key why Ultraverse went out was because the creative people that were being paid from Malibu to do Ultraverse were getting paid. They were getting paid more than a living wage. And Marvel literally bought Ultraverse out in order to shut the line down, because the talent was coming to them and going, hey, how come we're not getting rates the same as what Ultraverse is paying? Rates that these people are actually paying their electric bill. What the heck? And so they said, well, there's a problem here. We need to stop that. So they stopped it. And as you've seen with their use of the Ultraverse characters, because all of the Ultraverse characters, all of the creators for the Ultraverse characters had a co-ownership deal in their contract. So that even though these characters were derivative, they did very little with the Ultraverse characters other than bring them up intentionally to kill them all off. and or to destroy them in whatever fashion. Even though there were a couple of properties that Ultraverse had that were unique. Comics greatest world, in my opinion, Dark Horse didn't give that enough time. They introduced way too many unique properties way too fast, and they should have started slow with 3 or 4 of them, narrowed it down to 2, maybe 3 of them, and kept some quality standards working there and just built it off. They kept Ghost running, which was a unique, well, not really unique because it was pretty much Phantom Lady. They kept Ghost going for quite a while after they stopped the greatest comics line. They even did X for a little while after that, and I think there was maybe 1 or 2 other Barbed Wire might have had, because she had a movie deal anyway.
I picked up a book yesterday, hardback.
There's still, I'm sorry to interrupt you. In my opinion, there's still a lot of room out there to be able to grab retailers with a good line of books, but it'd have to be small, it'd have to build up, and it'd take a while.
I picked up a hardback book yesterday called The World's Greatest Comics. All new stuff. I haven't read it yet, though.
From who?
A small publisher. I don't have the bag near me, but we go off the air. I'll grab it for you.
Okay.
You can, yeah.
And as far as the licensed properties go, and again, that ties back to Diamond and this distribution monopoly that we have. A lot of these smaller publishers have to chase after licenses in order to get enough of a market share foothold in order to become and hit that next tier level with Diamond. That's why you see a lot of these properties getting fought over. A lot of these licensed properties get fought over in order for, and then if the property does get too big it catches one of the other bigger companies' notice, they'll weasel in and they'll surgically remove it from them. The Conan property is a big example from Dark Horse. The Dark Horse decided not to do Conan, or somebody from Marvel walked into the Howard estate and offered them more money or whatever. Suddenly, Dark Horse was doing some great stuff with Conan. Suddenly it becomes a Marvel property.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really difficult. Licensed properties are a whole other nightmare, especially for secondary companies. And I think IDW, if you look at IDW's financial statements, you'll see that they pay the whirlwind on a lot of that stuff. Well, that and their political grandstanding. So.
Ted Davies says, my followers do. The public just needs to be aware of the revolution happening 1 book at a time.
1 book at a time. The big thing that I discovered doing Flint Comics for as long as we did is that there are people out there desperately looking to be entertained. You just have to hit their price point and have to have them aware of your product. Comics, sequential art is by far, will never really go out of style. It'll always find a way to get out there, whether it's through crowdfunding or, if the retailers can survive for a while or can sustain existence or whatever. People want to read comics, and they find comics entertaining. You just have to put entertaining comics out in front of them, and they have to be aware of your brand. That's the big thing. And being in the comic shops for 30 or so years, only in comic shops, has not helped this art form grow.
John Integer says, even Deathmate was awesome. I have a couple Deathmate books.
Yeah. Valiant had some great material, and Jim Shooter, man, Jim Shooter was just at Grand Rapids Con. Great guy. And he knows how to make a comic. He's been doing comics. He's been doing mainstream comics since he was 13. Ran Marvel for years. There was, Valiant had no logical reason for removing him or getting rid of him. And he tried to get backing after Valiant and had Hollywood Comics for a little while, and it didn't go very far. So lack of distribution competition is killing the industry, squeezing the life out of innovation. No, lack of quality is what's really killing the industry, and that lack of quality comes from a laziness now because of the distribution angle. Convincing, like Marvel and DC can do. They did Squirrel Girl for 50 issues. and they can still, there must have been high enough sales for them to actually do Squirrel Girl for 50 issues and almost sell it, and then decide that they couldn't sustain that loss any longer. It's just these big companies really don't care if they're making a profit from the retail, and Marvel has never respected the retailers with any sort of level of care whatsoever. And us indies would thrive on it. There's if an indie company were to come in and actually do something to catch enough retailer attention, and you've seen a couple of guys, a couple of companies pop up, like Valiant's a good example. Almost had that whole retailer perception. And then these guys, something happens or something will happen. There'll be infighting or whatever, and the company ends up losing steam and going out of business.
Yeah.
Or, struggling or going back down to the levels of crabs in a bucket. Marvel's outside the bucket, kind of pointing and laughing, going, "We can do whatever we want. Oh, we sell thousands of copies to libraries," and they don't care about the retail market. They don't care about that bucket.
When I first started my first company, Randy, my first publishing company, I used to, I had somebody gave me a signboard, and I put on there, our greatest weakness is that we're not Marvel and DC. Our greatest strength is that we're not Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
And so like we could do things in indie books that they just can't do because they got corporate masters they have to answer to. Trico says 50 issues of Squirrel Girl. If that's
not a sign of the upcoming apocalypse, then I don't know what is. It's just that they wanted that character out there because of their audience. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I would have liked to see the Squirrel Girl TV show. That was going to Secret Warriors they were going to do. They had the girl from AT&T. So, yeah.
Not what? No, Feige probably went through a list. No. One more season. No. Oh, let's hope. Let's hope. Keep your fingers crossed. There's actually a voice of reason up there now.
Yeah.
We'll see. Never know.
Yeah.
Shooter saved Marvel, made Valiant. Why didn't Defiant take off? Lack of money and lack of retailer confidence. Defiant, Hollywood, wasn't that in Hollywood Comics? Defiant Comics, they did. Oh, plus the properties that he had running were very high concept. That was Plasm, if I'm not mistaken. Plasm was a decent book, but you had to read a couple of them in order to really get into it. So that I'm sure if you go and talk to Jim about why Defiant didn't take off, he could tell you straight to your face exactly how the company failed. And it had very little, I'm sure it came down to money, retailer perception, getting enough attention fast enough. It's a rough, fixed game, mainline distributions. And there are ways of beating it if you figure it out, and then as soon as somebody does, you might see Marvel and DC scramble if the retailers can hang on long enough.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for variant covers and Funko Pop.
Yeah.
That's what's keeping the majority of these retailers alive right
And
now.
sadly, that's true. That's one of the comic shops near me. His Funko Pop section. I mean, it's really messed up, Randy. He opened as a toy store, and he was really heavy on Avatar. And because Avatar was, sequels are coming. They were coming. And Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oof. And then he was like, okay, well, I'll put some comics in here too. Got a diamond account. The books were carrying him for a while.
Strike 3.
Yeah. the books were carrying him for a while. And then thank God for Funko Pop because he was able to drop all of the Indiana Jones and Avatar toys. And now he's got the Star Wars toys have kind of shrank a little bit, just a bit, but pop.
I bet it's a lot more in a little bit.
The pops are everywhere. They're everywhere.
Oh
now.
yeah.
It's
And they're just like
wall.
Like I keep saying, they're just like Beanie Babies. They're hot today. They're hot tomorrow. Some of them are going to go up in value, and They'll be worth some, but are they going to hold their value over 10 years? They're going to be just like Beanie Babies, where nowadays Beanie Babies are whatever, dollar bin or who knows what. The ones that people were paying 15, $20 for are like, oh well,
I
it's
hope
a Beanie
so.
Baby, you know.
I hope so. I don't know if you guys see my face, but I'm
It's
looking
a
at a wall of pops in front of me.
it's a fad. It's a fad that will die out just as fast as it came in. And if you're not, if you're not there to catch that fast enough, wizard stock, you're just going to end up buying the farm.
Yes, I do have stock in Wizard. It was a very good stock when I got it. Now it's pennying
So,
out.
so unlike Marvel's new universe, Warriors of Plasm, is too intelligent for average readers. It was just high concept. I don't know if it was too intelligent. I don't know if you can get too intelligent at this point, but you have to be able to go out there and grab them. And believe me, New Universe is not an example. And if Shooter was fired over New Universe, I think that was all one of many other problems that had sprung up at the time. New Universe was a bad misstep right from the start. And you'll see DC and Marvel will both try little imprints like that every decade or so that turn out to be horrible missteps, bad mistakes, and somebody up at the office gets a great idea to do something, and it's not like the Archie Goodwin had a series of 3 books, Powerline, Dr. Zero, and St. George, that he ran through the Epic line. That was amazing stuff. And if they'd have concentrated on that as much as they concentrated on New Universe, that they might still be being printed today. It's the concepts were bad. The idea, and again, that goes back to the basic idea of superheroes. It's just like John Byrne's Next Men as another prime example of the same problem. Superheroes have a level of whimsy. Superheroes have a level of fantasy that have to go with them, and that level of fantasy includes a distinctive brand and a distinctive outfit. And these characters who go around with superpower, you can have all the superpowers you want in the world, but if you don't have that distinctive look from a costume, even wearing your underwear outside of your clothes, having a cape, whatever, even no matter how impractical that thing looks, if you don't have that distinctive look and you're not recognized as a superhero, majority of the comic fans, especially the superhero people, don't want to follow you. So, putting a jacket on Star Brand is not going to help him get recognized. All of the Next Men was John freaking Byrne at the height of his abilities. That book should have been incredibly successful, and in my opinion, it wasn't, because these characters did not have specific outfits that were recognizable or brandable. I would rather read Alpha Flight than be reading Next Men.
True or false? Magic the Gathering and tabletop gaming are keeping comic book doors open. Comic shop doors open.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that I have to bring him into the show, but Paul down in who runs Geekorama down in Pittsburgh, he hosts a lot of Magic and other tabletop gaming competitions, and I know they've been very good for his store and his area. But I know other stores they don't like the tabletop gaming. They say there's no. I know my local store said it wasn't sustainable. Then I got a store about a mile from him. I think the reason why for one of my stores it's not sustainable is because it's a store about a mile down the road, and that's their core.
Yeah,
their core is tabletop gaming, whether it be Magic, D&D, Shadowrun, whatever.
You're seeing a lot of those hobby shops having a hard time maintaining. And the big problem with Magic is that they have specifications that you have to hit, that a retailer store has to hit in order to be recognized as a retail outlet, in order to get the discounts, in order to, and they have to build up their own following. They're having a hard enough time right now trying to cover their damn diamond bill, especially on books that they underestimate, and there's a lot of those or overestimate as far as sales go. So I honestly think you're seeing Magic wane, dying down. Plus, the fans can get real fickle, especially when it comes to Magic. If Joe Blow across town's offering a better discount or offering more fun, or there's more people over there, they're all going to crowd over there.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened up here in Flint is you had a couple places that were doing magic, and then a big store really became dedicated down in Flint for magic. Dedicated. Had an entire storefront pretty much with nothing but tables, had big tournaments down there, and now that store is gone because he couldn't maintain the he couldn't maintain the store. In fact, he expanded, couldn't maintain the entire line or his entire chain of stores. Where are those magic people gone? Well, some of them had trickled back to the previous stores, but it's not nearly as big as it used to be.
You know, I'll tell you a funny story about one of the local magic stores. And me, they carry comics as well. I walked in there and I was looking around. And I look on the shelf, and there's a new comic that had come out. Well, I'll tell you guys what it was. It was the Death of Captain.
Girl.
It was the Death of Captain America that was going for like $80-$90 at the time. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh crap, there it is on the shelf. And I walk over to the shelf, and it's sitting there. It's not a reprint, it's first printing. I pick it up. I'm like, I wonder if they know. So I go to the register. I put it on the register. The guy rings it up. You know, was it $3.99? I quickly give him the $4. Get it. Like, sweet. A couple of months later, another big comic comes out. I pick it up. It's there. They got it. Well, finally, my guilt got the best of me, and I went in there, and I'm like, look, guys, you got books on your shelf that are like worth $40-$50. What's going on? Why aren't you? And he told me, he says, oh, nobody here knows comics. We're tabletop gaming. We just carry the comics because they make a little money. But
That's amazing that they had that attitude.
yeah, he said we don't have anybody who knows comics. Hey, if you want to come in and work the comics section, you can. Can't pay you much. You can pay you in comics. And I considered it for a while. I considered it like I could come in, I could run this section.
When I was in school, that's how I got my comics. Because I swung by our local drugstore and straightened out their comic rack that the ladies there didn't want to touch.
Yeah.
I was real happy to go through and coordinate it on my way out, walking home from school.
John says, just as popular as Marvel movies are, why doesn't that translate to a resurgence and interest for the books? I'll tell you why, John and Randy. Let me take this one. Because Marvel has this idea, and I don't just say just Marvel because DC's done it too. Hey, we're about to get a hell of a lot of attention on our characters from this movie, this new TV show that's launching. This is gonna be great. Let's change the status quo in the comic. Let's make the comic unrecognizable to that fan who just came off the TV show or just walked out the theater. Oh my goodness, I'm out for to get a TV show. Let's kill him in the comic. Iron Man's popular character right now. Let's make sure that he's not Tony Stark. Let's make sure that Dr. Doom is in the costume. You get what I'm saying. They will kill the character in the comic just as the movie is getting ready to come out. Now, there's no synergy. Now, when Superman, when they were getting ready to marry Superman off and they were getting ready to do Lois and Clark, the network exec said, wait, you guys have to wait till this marriage. Let's do it. You guys do it in the comic, we'll do it on the TV show at the same time. So hold off. And that's what gave us the Doomsday, Doomsday, definitely Superman storyline, because they had to wait to marry Clark and Lois off. And that's synergy. That's when stuff should happen. But they have a really nasty habit of saying, hey, this we got a new, Doctor Strange will be coming out. Sweet. So what are we going to shake up the comic to make people interested? Let's kill Steven off. Hey, let's take away. Hey, how about the Wizard Council comes down, the Sorcerer Council comes down and strips him of his powers, and he has to go in hiding, and we'll make Doctor Doom the new Sorcerer Supreme. And where? So now when those people come from the movie theater to pick up the book, they're like, "This isn't what I seen in the yeah." And then sometimes these idiots don't even put a book out. They'll do reprints. I mean, I almost got suckered yesterday.
They don't do collections anymore.
Yeah.
You don't find any good collections. Unless you go to Ollie's, then you can
Yeah.
find collections. But
So, yeah.
that's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah. Um, I almost got suckered, guys. I sent it to Randy. Almost got suckered to buy another copy of Watchmen yesterday. Randy laughed at me. They they took the Watchmen cover. They put Rorschach on. First of all, they took away the yellow, the iconic yellow smiley face, and put
Yeah.
Rorschach on there. And it's a what's it called, Randy?
It's like a 3D flip 'em. It's like a flickering cover.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what they call it.
Lithium, not lithium. Wow.
Sublimation.
Yeah, well, I can't.
When you turn it at an angle,
Yeah.
the image will change.
Yeah, yeah. So his mask is actually moving on the cover,
Yeah.
and it's really really cool. And I can't forget. I forget the name of the technology now.
For an extra $10, boom, you get a fancy cover.
$29.99.
Ka-ching.
Look, they have a regular version right under it for 20. So
But yeah, Marvel and DC, and then they'll with Marvel and DC they'll kick off whenever a big movie tie-in comes in, they'll kick off a facsimile comic where they're reprinting like the character's first appearance or their major battle or whatever, and then they're stunned, absolutely stunned, that the retailers are ordering as many of those as they're ordering the new books.
yeah,
And the new books are nothing like the movies, like what you were saying.
yeah.
And nor do they follow it up by a nice reprint collection or whatever. Iron Man's coming out to the store. Here's the old Essential Iron Mans or the collected omnibus, or not even the omnibus, because the omnibus are overpriced anyway. But a good, inexpensive collection of stuff for moms and dads to come in and buy. My kid's crazy about the Iron Man movie. What Iron Man you have? Well, Iron Man's been replaced by a young black female. What? And it only takes one visit. That's the key here, that they have blown their opportunities. It only takes a mom and dad one visit to go in and say, that's not the same Iron Man. Yeah. And they'll walk out of that store and they won't come back. That's why DC was trying the 100-page spectaculars at the Walmarts, even though they hit them. And it's a hide-and-seek game to find the 100-page comics at Walmart. So apparently they're not selling. That's why Marvel licensed the digest out to Archie, and Archie was kicking out a comic digest every time a new movie came out. Here's Venom is coming out to the theater. Here's a book of concentrated Venom tales. Awesome. They're this big, and you need a magnifying glass if you're anywhere around 50 or you have any kind of eye problem. You have to have a magnifying glass in order to read the suckers.
The
BC chain overgrew, then contracted. Don't know what the Howell shop is doing because I don't go down there. Jonathan, they are out of business. They filed for bankruptcy protection, and the judge told them, no, you are out of business, and threw them out of business. There's no more BC chain. It's one of a growing number of retail shops that are going under because, like you said, they overextend, or they have to contract and they contract wrong, or whatever. It's sad to see them gone, but they're gone. Love John Wesley Shipp getting to be the TV Flash again, but I think they should play an older Hal Jordan in Green Lantern Corps movies. Thoughts?
I think that DC's been romancing Tom Cruise for that role.
That was the last rumor, but that doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
I think if you've been watching Crisis, I think the actor who plays Diggle sounds a little bit overly bitter.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of rumor that he was going to become Jon Stewart, and there's still rumor that he might become Jon Stewart in the TV show coming up for HBO. So whether they use an older Hal Jordan, I don't know. There was some talk there for a little while that Nathan Fillion was up for that too.
Yeah.
And you never know until they sign it, until they do it. So.
And John asked, what's your opinion of Dynamite getting hold of old Golden Age characters and making a universe?
Oh, that's wonderful. If they can get people to look at it, they can get people to look at it. And the majority of the people that get a hold of those, the majority of those writers on those characters don't know the character. They don't know who those characters are. Some of the Matt Wagner shadows are kind of interesting, but they still are, they still bog down really bad without a lot of explanation. And to this day that I remember, DC has never reprinted the William Kaluta and Frank Robbins Shadow books, which were just amazing. I mean, I read those, and that's how I got to know what the Shadow was when I was a kid. Was that there was a Shadow comic out there? That here's this guy in a red scarf and a big again, it's that superhero branding. He had a superhero outfit with the big floppy hat and the red scarf and the overcoat and the two guns. Who's this guy? And the ring, awesome. Who's and William Kaluta did amazing work on that. Nobody sees that around anymore, unless you're digging through the back issue bins or you want to pay the $40 an issue.
We're reaching the end of the show here, so we want to remind people that if you want to write in to us and get your question put on the show with the graphics and everything that I did not do for this particular episode because I'm lazy. IndieVote Live at indievote.com is where you had those emails problems too. Yeah, the computer kept me from doing it. But you include IndieVote Live in the subject, and please keep those emails to 90 words or less. Also, we want to thank our IndieVote Radio listeners once again, all 726 of you. We appreciate it.
Thanks for hanging in there, especially with our computer glitches this morning.
Yeah. IndieVote Radio listeners, we appreciate it. You can become one of those IndieVote Radio listeners by downloading IndieVote Radio on Google Play or on Streamer if you're using iOS. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week, music and indie entertainment news. So please consider downloading that on your smartphone or smart devices. You can even get it on Alexa. I have to whisper that because my Alexa will pick that up. So, but it's really cool. It's a lot of good music. There was Fallout from our special. Rob asked, "What's the Fallout from our special?"
Yeah, he asked while you were off the air. I told him I didn't know because all of the communication went to you.
Yeah, there is some Fallout from our special. We will cover that very shortly too. I promise. There's some people asking for your head on the pike.
Are they really? I didn't think you had that many negative.
No, I only got 3 emails, but they were pretty spicy.
Are they?
So, yeah. And also, IndieVote TV. That's right, on your Roku. You can find that. It's a free over-the-top OTT streaming service where you can stream independent-made movies, some content from us here at IndieVolt, some original documentaries that are coming very, very soon. And I just got the equipment to do it the other day. So, yeah, we got some documentaries coming on there. We're going to be announcing some of those very soon. And then this Friday, Randy, I want to do a little special.
That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Yeah. I want to do a special and talk about some of the things that we're going to be launching on the IndieVolt shop that people will be interested in. I know they will because they're really cool. Some things we got launching.
Rob says only 3. I'm losing my double appeal. Rob, I think the podcast was that educational, quite frankly.
Yeah, it was educational.
I think you got your point across incredibly well.
I think some people can argue, but you're going to have people. The emails that I got were what you would expect. Oh, pervert, this and that, which we're not sure wasn't Olivia under a different name.
Oh, no, not Olivia, but we were not sure if it wasn't a troll in general.
Yeah.
We're assuming Olivia is real.
Yeah. Oh, Alice. I'm sorry, not Olivia. Oh, yeah, Alice. We had Olivia and Alice.
Joel.
Yeah.
Tony the T-Rex. Anyway.
So, guys, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We will see you back Tuesday. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you like and subscribe.
Ralph, you finally woke up. Holy crap.
Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. We appreciate it if you do. It really means a lot to us. It means that we get to keep IndieVolt in the algorithms and the suggested and related videos. Because I've been noticing that even on my YouTube, I would occasionally get an IndieVolt video in there in my recommendeds. I'm not seeing it. So please like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, give it a thumbs up. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, Randy. Oh, and on Twitch.
You're watching on IndieVolt. Send us a question. Let us know what you're into, especially if you're not in the United States. Love to know what you're reading out there.
that's pretty much it for us. We're not doing anything this week except for preparing for the holiday, but we do have a special show that I want to launch some new Indie Vault stuff that you guys will really, really enjoy, I think, coming up very soon. Again, though, we will be back on Tuesday night at 9 p.m.
We'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll back tomorrow.
Will we be live tomorrow?
I think so. I think we should do it live.
Yeah.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
So yeah, everyone, please have a great start of almost your weekend, right? But we'll
Have a good Thursday. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. If not, then we'll be on the YouTube channel. You can catch us whenever you want.
That's right. All right, guys. Until then, have a good day. We will see you shortly. And keep reading comics. We will keep making them.
Yep.
Or else.
Or else. All right. Thanks.